Hello, all, and welcome to the Fantasy and Sci-Fi Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Coolbaugh. Today, I have a very special guest, Tom Lloyd. Tom, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
I just realized I'm out of frame. There we go, a little bit better. It was bugging me so bad. Thank you so much for coming on today, and for emailing me. Thank you for being patient. Season 4 took way too long to record. I was hoping to get. I was almost gonna do a double season. My wife's like, it's just not a good idea right now with the little one. I'm like, that's fair. So we're doing our best here, but I'm trying to get everybody on that emailed. So I really appreciate everybody being patient. So thank you so much for reaching out and for coming on and talking about your books today. I can't wait.
Cool.
All
Yeah,
right, let's do this. All right. Yeah. So we'll ask that first question there. What has your writing journey been like up until this point?
Bit of a funny one. I'm trying to work out. I don't know what the what's considered the traditional writing journey. But I got lucky quite early on. But I've been doing this for 20 years now. So maintaining that has not been easy. Partly because I didn't want to write the same book or the same sort of book each time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was quite successful to start with, and then that's slowly tailed off over the years. Um, yeah, I'm maintaining, but it's an odd process.
Mm. Oh, I like that. First of all, I like how you said I got to write some notes down today because I've heard so many great things today in my life. So I like how you said I did not know what the typical like writer's journey is. So I always ask that question. I just want to like if anybody for you or the audience, right, who hasn't been here before, I've talked about this before, but I started asking that question years ago. It was actually given to me by a past guest, and he's like, "Well, I think this would be fit better." And be a better warm-up question. So I like how you said that because him and I actually came up with that question. I tailored it a little bit more, but to really show people, right, that everybody's journey is different. And if you look through my episodes, every single person, will say something different. You get a couple of answers that are pretty similar, but there's always like a reason for the writing. So I always ask people, like, what really is your reason for writing them? Like, why was this journey and everything that you've done? Why do it really?
Yeah, I've worked in publishing for over 20 years now, so I've seen quite a lot of, careers go and come, and it all starts. It can start in very different ways. Quite often, there's a bump at the start because you're the new shiny thing, which publishers like. They have very short attention spans sometimes. I think it's weird how sales tracks. If you don't have any track record of sales at all, then they can make up what they like about how good your potential is. Once you've sold some books, they have very clear numbers that they stick to. So yeah, it can go very oddly. So yeah, it's possible that yeah, I got lucky to start with because there was sort of nothing to count against me.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting though, because I talked to my friend about this recently. He's launching his third book. I won't say who, but he's launching his third book. And I tried saying to him, he's like, "Oh, I want this to happen." And he had some, lucky things happen. I'm like, the luck you can't control the luck, right? I'm like, you can control what you do. So for me personally, I've talked about this on a seminar recently for the UK, the Indie Spotlight. Thanks, people. They were amazing. But it was interesting because we discussed that. It was like me, Fraser Armitage, Atel Tinsley, were running. There was like Adrian M. Gibson and Crystal Matar. So all of us like podcasts, right, in some form or other. But it was interesting because I was mentioning like my friend and some other people I heard, like, well, I want to get out there more. And I'm like, well, how do you put your writing out there and your thoughts? I'm like, I already have a YouTube channel. It's pretty easy, right? So I'm literally just going to attach my own author channel and I'm going to talk about my world building. I'm going to like kind of, dissect, and it's going to, for me, be like advertisement for writing, right? Because like you said, right, I'm on this side and readers and on top of publishers don't know me, right? So I think that's a way to kind of help with that process, if that makes sense. So I had suggested that to my friend and some others. I'm like, I see a couple people do that recently, and I don't know how to say Alex's last name, so I'm sorry, Alex, but J. Alex Gear, I think is how I say it. But like he has his own YouTube channel, but it's 100 subscribers, but he'll talk about that kind of thing. So I think that's one way. This is a Journeyman's podcast. I have a lot of people from the breadth, right? But a lot of people watching are like me, 1 to 3 books that they either publish or about to for that process. So I think it's good to point out, right, that Things have changed, like you said, Tom, but I think you really got to find what works for you. But there is a little bit of luck in there too, and you can't always control it, is my point. So you got to really figure out what the market and readers want, what publishers or agents want, but also figure out what works best for you. Because I think ultimately, that you can't determine luck, right? But you can figure out what works best for you and focus on that. And I honestly, I think the luck will come after that. But
It can do. I mean, there are a lot of people where it doesn't come, but yeah, I
yeah,
think to be successful in publishing, there's a lot of things that got to go right. And
yeah,
the ones you can control are the writing and how you approach everything. But if you don't have the luck, then I mean, I know really talented authors who've just never quite got there, even though the writing's brilliant, the reviews have been good, the publishers like them. It's just not happened.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a weird, frustrating industry. So
yeah,
I because I came at it, yeah, I was quite lucky to start with. Just hit things at the right time. Um, so it felt quite good there. And then we got to the point going, well, actually, now we have to maintain this, and this is trickier. So how do we go about this? And then that by that point we were sort of shifting more and more into social media, and it got
mm,
into a very different way of doing things. And as that happened, I get married, have kids, and my time to do all of the things about building a
yeah,
profile, there's less and less of that,
hmm,
as other things are changing around me. So you've got to adapt, but yeah, you've got to come up with a sort of a plan of what actually looks like success,
mm,
because actually almost no one ever makes a lot of money out of this. And if you're in it for the money, then you're not going to be successful. And so
yeah,
yeah, success for me is keeping me sane as much as anything.
yeah,
So I was for a long time. I worked part time in what I did. So I do contracts for publishers,
mm,
um, and so I was making money from the books. I was making money from the job, and I could maintain that. And that was a really enjoyable balance. And as the books didn't sell as many, my career was improving, and so I was getting more and more sort of towards full time on the day job. And so have to accept I'm not going to sell an insane number of books these days. And
yeah,
that doesn't matter because I'm still paying the bills. And actually, the most important thing is making sure the kids are fed and clothed and things. And the writing is there to keep me sane,
yeah.
because
But
otherwise my brain's going to go nuts.
yeah, I just like how you said that though, like what success, means for you. And I've had people ask me that. I've seen a couple friends, who've done pretty well, on the first couple of books and stuff like that. And for me, like I just want to write over the summer. Like if I could just do well enough, right, with a catalog or new things or whatever, a mix of a podcast. I don't mind teaching, but it's like the other stuff after 3 o'clock that I have to do, like tutoring. Kids are great. I love helping kids, but it's like it's hard to do, right? Because I just want to leave and I want to go play with my kid, write for an hour each night, and then take the summer off while he's at daycare just to write. And he's only gonna be at daycare for like 2 more summers. After that, him and me are just gonna be hanging out. I might get like a babysitter or something, for 2 hours a day or something. But for me, like success really for that really just looks like eventually is like I just don't have to do a second job or work summer school. I can just like enjoy the time off I'm actually supposed to have in my career. So I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, it'd be cool to sell a bunch of books and stuff as long as I can put them out there, people are reading them, enjoying them, and I can continue to do it. And maybe one day, cross fingers, not have to do anything extra, unless I want to, right? I think, yeah, it definitely looks different for everybody. So I think that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was first published when I was 26, and
Oh wow.
so had a slightly sort of skewed view of yeah, what success looked like.
Yeah.
And did have I was published as a trio with Scott Lynch and Joe Abercrombie, so I could see their meteoric rise. Going, okay,
Yeah,
well
yeah.
that's success then. That's what I should be aiming for.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's not going to. That's doing that is unbelievably unusual.
yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, where I actually approach it now is completely different, I think. And
Oh, I
I
like that.
love having these big stories and this big sort of knotty problem of whatever it is in my head. And so my only frustration now is when I'm just too busy at work, I don't actually get time to focus on
Oh yeah.
this fun aspect. If as long as
Yeah.
I can be a bit in during the week, to sort of exercise my brain in a completely different way, then yeah, I'm so much happier with how the work goes.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's really cool. I'm curious though, like since you brought it up, which I think is really cool, like how have you like how have you reassessed? Like have you had multiple times where you've kind of like, like reassessed like because this industry changes so often, right? Like 2 years ago, X like Twitter was still working. Now it's, it's very different. I used to be able to post an episode on there, right? But well, I guess it was like 4 years ago before my son was born. And I would get like 350, listens on RSS.com and Spotify or something. Now it's like I'll get maybe 50 to 100, like total with the YouTube. So I'm curious as like how have you kind of remanaged at times and found what's working and what's not working to kind of reanalyze some of those things with such a long career?
Yeah, I mean, I think recently I haven't found that rhythm yet of actually connecting with people particularly, because there is no one medium that either works or works for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm too old for TikTok. It's just it's not going to be a good
It's
look.
that's another one though. You brought it up, Tom. That's another one. Like when I first, like 4 year, 5 years, 6 years ago, right? Like when I
Mhm.
first got on there, it was like I would do a random video about books, the low numbers, right? 750 on average,
Yeah,
and I used to put Star Wars stuff on there. I'd get like 19,000 views or something, or ask a question or something. And now it's like I'd be lucky to get 90 on average, and even that's been curtailed. Like everybody's, you got to do this now, right? But my friend's paying for the verified on X, and he's got over 10,000, followers, and he like got rid of a bunch of bots and stuff, but still it's like, he's not really seeing the numbers. I'm like, so what's the pay to, pay to win or pay to play? I'm like, that's not even really, working for people,
yeah.
from what I can see. So yeah, it's very frustrating at times, right, to try and figure out. But you also made a good point. Like as a podcaster, I have to be on X,
Mhm.
Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads.
Yeah,
Otherwise, like it's like I won't get enough views or anything, I think, really to, to get you guys the justice, that your work deserves. So it ends up being like I've found my systems and stuff to make it quick, but it still, takes me 30, 40 minutes to share an episode. Like today, I have David Andrew Trotter just came out. So that's going to take me at least 30, 45 minutes when I get home, to share on, to make the original post and to kind of split it. And they're not all the same, right? Because Threads and
yeah,
X, you have to do, and Blue Sky, you have to do smaller text. So yeah, it gets kind of convoluted after a while. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you do wonder why you're spending so much time having to sort of deal with all these little compartments. There's not one
yeah,
that
yeah.
can sort of actually just drive it for you. I
Well, I
think
wish
that,
YouTube did that better. Like you can share, but then yeah, you have to still put something on there, right? It's like you're not going to be seen just by sharing, yeah, like a video. Like I can't just do that with this interview. So yeah,
yeah,
it gets kind of interesting. My friend had said the other day on here, he goes, "We need to find something like the new Facebook, or Twitter. Like so many people are missing the old Twitter from the writing community in particular, and like the artist community. So I find that I thought Blue Sky was going to be it, but I think they need to change some things to make it a little bit more appealing, like it was then. But
yeah. Well, yeah. On Bluesky, I think I've got more followers than I did on Twitter, but
oh, cool.
almost all of them are wannabe writers, and
That's fair.
they're building their sort of personal network. That's fine, but I'm not selling that many books to them because that's not what
That's
they
fair.
want. And I
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
get the impression there are as many readers as there used to be on Twitter.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's harder to connect with them now. But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it's yeah.
it's an ongoing
It's
project, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, and I think it's funny, so many people come on here. I just bring this up because so many people I think are missing like the old Twitter writing community days. Like it was awesome, right? Like you would share
Yeah,
something and 35,000 people, would view it and you'd get like 100 comments. Like, and that's like what people want, right? Want to connect. But yeah, I think it's that dollar, right? It's yeah, it's like Will Ferrell from Blades of Glory, right? Give the people what they want, and I'm like, we want old Twitter back. So if anybody wants to do that
yeah,
for the writing community, I've tried Discord, but that still is not, the same thing. And I've tried a lot of different ones, and yeah, I get random messages for stuff I don't care about. Whereas I would want to, connect with you on Twitter, and I would want, and you used to be nice because you could see so many things from so many people. I just realized one of my friends, I haven't seen him on any app, and he's on there, right? On all four or whatever views with him. And I haven't seen anything from him in like almost a year and a half.
yeah.
And At first, I thought like, he stopped following me or blocked me or something, but it's like, nope, the algorithm. It's like it's wild that the algorithm would not show me his stuff. So I think it is kind of an upward battle at times. That's really
Yeah,
hard
I got
to,
an email yesterday, I think, like an automated one from Facebook saying your followers are most active at 9 p.m. on a Monday, so you should post content then. I go, well, that's great, but if I post on a thing, you'll choke off the number of people who actually see it to 5% or something. So there's still no
yeah.
point about paying you money.
Well, it's wild. Like some of my friends got distraught the other day, but I was just trying to show like an example, right? So on Spotify, it'll actually show, right? My episode from 2 weeks ago went out to 220 people and they
Mm.
saw it, right? And then like 100 people clicked on it, 20 people listened, but then only like three or four or whatever for that one actually stuck around. I got one follower out of it, no reviews. So I'm like, that's literally what you're fighting the whole time, right? It's like the ocean, when you're trying to build a sandcastle on the beach, and you're trying to keep the water out. Like it's really difficult at times. And I had people like, well, I might as well just quit. I'm like, well, you could. I go, I'm just looking at it from a different lens. Is like, if I have to do this much to be seen by that many people, it means if I want to be seen by, 200 people or liked by that many people, I have to produce more content, which I totally get. I'm a content creator. It's really hard, right? To always create content and it
Yeah,
gets really
yeah, it's a
redundant. That's like
brutal job.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like Riverside does a great job because I'll just throw it in and the tools like the AI tool and stuff, it just puts the YouTube shorts together for me because until then, I've never had time. I don't have time to sit down. I got a future 3-year-old, right? I don't have time to sit down and edit for hours at a time. I totally get that. So it's frustrating for people at times. Well, I know you mentioned this a little earlier, but what genres do you currently write in and why?
So yeah, it's basically fantasy. I yeah, I've skipped around a bit because I have a limited attention span at the best of times.
I get
So
that.
during COVID, I wrote a SF novel. Just before that, I did a historical fiction, which made no sense on a sort of career progress, but it was the story I couldn't get out of my head, and I
Mm,
was desperate to get it done. And
that's cool.
so yeah, but yeah, it's mainly fantasy. That's what I grew up reading, or at least liking. My whole family, none of them read fantasy, basically.
Oh, I
So
feel that.
it wasn't really a thing when I was growing up, which is weird because The Hobbit was a sort of transformative novel for my dad when he was at school.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so he was at school. I think like Tolkien's son was one of the teachers there, and Tolkien's
Well,
grandson
that's
was
awesome.
at the school. So
That's cool.
he was aware, he was very aware of it, but I think it blew his mind as a teenager when he read it. Um, but beyond that, they never really thought about the whole genre, and it wasn't in the house. We lived out in a
Mm,
village where getting to the library wasn't easy,
mm.
or anything like that. So I didn't have these books, all these, there weren't the TV shows and things. So I loved it almost in theory, because the little bits I could see, like I don't know,
Mm.
the children's version of Beowulf or the odd fighting fantasy book that came my way. Some of them I have no idea where they turned up from, but there's just these sort of random dog-eared books arrived sometimes in the house, and I'd immediately devour them and make them my own because no one else really cared. So I think
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
family, when I started writing, they're going, "Oh, right. So when you say fact you're writing fantasy, what are you even talking about?" Because they had no
Well,
idea.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Oh yeah, I don't know. My kid's screwed. I was like teasing some students of mine. They're like, "Are you gonna love your kid if they do this?" And that's like how they want to avoid work, right? And I usually coach. I haven't coached since my son was born a couple years ago, which is fine. I enjoy much more staying home with him. No offense to anybody, but I love that aspect. Didn't get to be home for a long time, so it's nice being home now for years. But yeah, like they would ask me, like, if they don't play this, like, are you gonna love them? And then I would always say, yeah, I don't care, And then one day they're like, if your son doesn't like fantasy or sci-fi, and I was like, whoa, that one. I was like, wait a minute. And then now, like, my son loves PJ Masks, like, loves Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, and stuff. I'm like, we're okay. And I was teasing him. I was like, as long as he's not a fiction guy, right? Like, we'll be okay. Whether he chooses one of the subgenres. But yeah, I think fantasy is definitely I love science fiction too. That was like my first, but yeah, fantasy for me is like super, super fun. Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, all those kind of things. So, or science fiction, fantasy, I think is another good one. But yeah, anything fantastical, I think is just so much more interesting. Even in horror, right? Like I like the
Yeah.
supernatural, those kind of things. So, but why? So, like in terms of like genre, right? Um, what is it in particular that you're like, oh, I really like writing about this genre? Like you talked about reading, but what is it about the writing aspect that you find really, really interesting?
I think just the freedom to do what I want. I
Mm,
mean, yeah, when I started writing it, it never occurred to me to go, right, I'm going to write a fantasy book.
mm,
I, well, getting the idea for writing a book, and it sort of came out of a fantasy novel, but it was largely, I wanted to write something, and because, I don't know, it seemed like a fun thing to try. There was no great calling at all. Um, and so I did that, but my brain just, like, there was no decision that it was going to be fantasy. That's just how my brain works. So it was
mm.
always going to be that, and I never even considered doing anything else on that
Oh, that's
front.
cool.
It was just, and so yeah, I mean, I sat down to read Lord of the Rings because I was going, I need to think about how I start a book,
Mm,
and I'd read The Hobbit years before, but had never actually read the Lord of the Rings by that point. So I sat down and was merrily enjoying that, and I knew good chunks of the story just through general pop culture. Um,
mm, mm.
and then I'm trying to write a book at the same time, trying to work out what I even want to write. But yeah, it was inevitable for, oh, well, probably people knew me would go, yeah, it's obvious it was going to write a fancy book, and it never even occurred to me that there was a question involved, really.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. I like that. Yeah, I think people think it's got to be really profound, right? I'm
Yeah.
like I just like writing certain things in certain ways, so I think that makes total sense. Um, That's a great answer. So this is one of my favorite questions is really getting into, like your books just in general, and your work. So, what are your Twilight Rain books about, and how did you come up with this idea?
So that's the one I wrote first. They're about, it's what, God's prophecy or lack thereof, um, violence. Um, I never really thought that hard about it. I started with two ideas and then ended up with a million words. So
Wow.
I basically started going, I want to write a book. What sort of book do I have? Well, of course, it has to have lots of gods who are flawed and interfering. And so if they're going to meddle with things, then that sort of brings in how prophecy works. Because I was always annoyed, any show, any book that I read, there's a prophecy about this. And you go, well, that's great. Where did the prophecy come from?
Yeah,
What's what actual sort of power generates this prophecy? Does it come from another god? Because you've got gods running around this world, whatever it is, but none of them can like create a prophecy. Is it coming from a higher power? Is it a natural force? Yeah. So
yeah.
I wanted to go. If they're going to have prophecy, that's fine, and it's going to be the gods going. We are going to make a prophecy, and we're going to sort of engineer a situation because we're the gods, and so we can do what we like, and we're going to make this happen. Um, and the other thing that annoyed me was if it's a book or a movie, usually you've got a big bad guy and a plucky farmhand or whatever, and he gets his ass handed to him for 10 minutes in a fight, and then miraculously gets in a lucky blow, despite the fact he spent about half an hour training with a sword 2 weeks beforehand, and the other guy's been um, trained since birth for 50 years or whatever. And so I just thought that really annoyed me that keeps happening, and it's such a
Yeah, yeah,
lame
yeah,
way of doing it. So
yeah,
I,
yeah,
so I start out with go, okay, if I've got a bad guy, if he's this all powerful, brilliant, unbeatable warrior, that's fine. He will not lose a fight ever. And so I then have to work out A, why that's the case, and B, how I can write a story with that being a sort of fundamental tenet.
Mm.
So yeah, I threw it in with, if you're going to have prophecies of chosen ones, that's great. But the bad guy was the original chosen one. He was the one that the gods made
Oh, I
to
love
be
that.
unbeatable. They decreed that he would be impossible to beat in a fight, and he's the smartest and he's the strongest or whatever it is. And so the hero of the story, Isaac, um, he's being introduced as a chosen one, but he's not the first. There are others. Well, there has been another one out there who is better than him, and so he's they're wrapping prophecies around him. They're putting all these expectations on him, and I thought, well, if they can do that, then other forces can do that as well. So if the enemy God can do that, so yeah, there's basically an entity twisting all these prophecies and expectations around him until it breaks and creates something that no one can control.
Well, that's interesting. I like the concept that he's not the first chosen one. I think that's really cool. I've seen that a couple of times, but not to like the degree that you're talking about. So I really like that. It's really cool. Yeah, it drives me nuts as a martial artist. Yeah, when somebody's like, yeah, this guy's trained for 50 years, and then this person, like, sure, like, and I've heard this recently as like an excuse in a lot of TV show, movies, and books, and it kind of drives me nuts. Recently, just going off that is like people are like, oh, and like the way they get around is like they'll have a character say this, right? Well, anybody can get a lucky shot at any time, or whatever, right? Which is like true to the degree, but I'm like, if you're somebody who's like my karate instructor, she is 78 and she will beat the living snot out of you. And I don't care how big you are. Like I've like helped and trained with people in like my home state who went to like into the UFC, right? Like Ultimate Fighting Championship. And it's like some of them have won, right? And I'm like, I'm more afraid of her than I am of them. And they're younger than me, bigger than me, stronger than me. She will whoop them, I guarantee it, right? She's one of those old school Yoda types, right? And you're trying to tell me, right, that somebody just training for 2 weeks is gonna defeat her. Like it's literally like it's been driving me more nuts recently. Like,
Yeah.
sure, you might be able to defeat me, right? I've only been training like less than half of her life, right? Like whatever. She's been training like 45 years out of that, 48 now out of that 78. And it's like I can see you defeating me, but not her. Particularly for like sword points. I'm like, no, it's not happening. So yeah, it does really bug me recently. So I like that you like slugged that. I think maybe some other people are frustrated about that too.
And also, it creates an interesting problem for me. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
about books is creating a problem and then working out how to sort of go around it. So yeah, if I have this character who can't be beaten in a fight, then if are they going to actually come up? Are they going to get into a fight? Because if they do, I have to handle what's going to happen there, and
yeah.
otherwise, I have to go about the book in a different way. So
Mm.
yeah, it's all creating interesting things for me to play with, and I can think about at night. For years, I mean, since COVID, it's not really been as much of a problem, but for literally decades, I've always struggled to go to sleep.
Mm.
For most of my writing career, I've only been able to go to sleep if I've got something about a book to think about, whether it's a
Interesting.
scene, doing some dialogue, or trying to work out how I can fix a problem in the plot. For years, I could not go to sleep unless I had something to distract my brain from the fact that I was meant to be going to sleep. And I can work
Mm.
on the problem, and it might be night after night, and I may not get anywhere useful. But as long as I've got something to think about, I could then go to sleep.
Oh, it's interesting. Oh, it's really cool. You could have asked me, Tom. I would have given
Yeah,
you the fact that Gobekli Tepe, right, is like 5,000, 6,000, like 58 hundred years older than it actually should be.
yeah,
So it completely ruins our timeline, right? But I totally get you. Like something different, right, about having to be mentally exhausted after having written, right? Or plotted or organized, whatever you want to say, right? And then yeah, it just like it's like a workout, right? But for the mind, it like totally wipes you out. So I could totally see that. So yeah.
yeah. And my day job is contracts, so it's a completely different. I mean, I'm putting words on the page and I'm working out like meaning of sentences and things, but it works my brain in a totally different way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I get scratchy if I've not done anything book related in a week, and
Mm,
my wife
yeah.
can tell the difference between me when I've actually had a balanced working week or
Yeah.
when I'm obsessed with the day job.
That's also why I'm doing like lives or some sort of events or something, because if I don't podcast, like if I do finish in December, before the first of the year, pre-record everything, I can't just not do something like this. My wife's like, "Oh my God, stop talking about fantasy and sci-fi. I don't care, right?" So she's like, "Go interview someone." I know, like usually I take a break in the winter, and by then she's like, "Oh my God, is it spring yet? Like, go interview someone." So I'm trying to. I totally get that. I gotta bounce ideas or talk to other authors and creatives. Otherwise, I go stir crazy. So I think a lot of people here feel that way. So I think that makes total sense. But it is right. Like I know a lot of people in IT, my friends that work in there, like they're authors, and it is different, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
completely different mind shift. So I find lately I've been so exhausted, I've had trouble writing, and like just mentally, which has never happened to me before. Because usually I do the same thing you do, right? That's like my time to relax, and then I go to bed. So I've had to learn like relearn habits or develop new ones around writing. So I have to actually, I just like, I'm gonna have to write earlier in the day. And that's what I did the last 2 days. So I'm gonna actually sit down and write when I get home. And then I think that'll help. But again, I think it goes back to what works for you. We were talking about earlier. So I think that
Yeah.
makes total sense.
I mean, I was lucky when my kids were young that I was working part time, so I had some dedicated chunks of time, and yeah, had to be switched around a bit to fit around with dealing with kids in whatever age group they were in.
Yeah.
But it would have been a lot tougher now because I'm older and more tired generally,
I feel that.
and I have to work full time. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
people who say they get up at 5 a.m. or they put in another 3 hours after they've worked for a school, I don't know how they do it. I mean,
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
writing, but I'm not that committed to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for me, people ask me all the time. It's like podcasting too. I'm like, my kid's gonna come first. No, if the people are gonna ask me about my book, I was like, I've just been too busy. I was like, I'm a dad. I'm like, I'm always gonna push my book stuff. For that's why I like indie personally because I can do that, right? I haven't scheduled stuff yet. So I'm kind of holding some stuff and finishing some other things at the same time for rapid release. But I can do that, right? And it's fun. I'm trying to release when my kid's a little older. Like last night, a little frustrating, right? Can't like talk about stuff because he waking up, which I get, right? And I was like told the person they're really cool. I was like, I gotta go put my kid to sleep, 'cause that's my priority. So yeah, I think it's hard. Like I can't wake up. I've been wake up at 5:50 to take my kid to school, so we're all at work on time. So my wife can't right now, and oh my gosh, I'm like, how? Like Michael R. Fletcher has told me I wake up at 4:30. I'm like, how? I'm like, I'm not a dad that's built that way. I can stay up late and then wake up at my 6:30 and feel fine. Like, I'll be tired, but I can, manage. But 5:30, oh man, it's like 20 minutes earlier than my body's used to getting up. So I can't imagine writing at that time. So yeah, it's definitely that's why I'm like trying to figure out what works best at this point because I can't do that. It's not
Yeah,
not built
it
that
took me
way.
at least 10 years to work out how to write before I had two meals inside me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
For
could see
a long
that.
time, it used to be I could only write after lunch or could only do
Yeah.
anything eatable, just because
Yeah.
my brain is so slow to wake up.
No, I could totally see that. I never realized that. I'm very similar though. I can do it after a lunch break, yeah, but I can't. I find it very difficult to do before like 12. Maybe mine is eating. I just didn't realize. Yeah, I think maybe that's what I'm waiting for. But I started thinking about it like that's how my whole schedule's been. My whole life is like I got free time at some point. If whether it was recess at school or
Yeah.
or if I went to college, like my time after was like 12:30 to whatever, right? Like I had time to kind of think about it. So I'm always slammed up until the point of the day I am now too. So I think that makes total sense. I always feel better writing after eating too. So don't get distracted. That's awesome. So we'll start with that next one. What are the Empire of 100 Houses books about, and why should readers pick them up today?
I think of the Empire of Hundred Houses as sort of epic fantasy, but on a quite a small scale.
Mm,
So it's two books in the series, and they're both set in the imperial city of this almost global spanning empire.
mm,
Um, each section of the city is controlled by one of the sort of well, the noble houses that are effectively country-sized entities. So
mm,
there's hundreds of those houses. So there's 100 different districts in the city. Um, and so the main character is effectively a policeman who's having to manage the keeping the peace in all these different places when you've got different jurisdictions, all of these sections run by the sort of high caste members who don't care about what the police want.
Mm.
And so he's one of the people trying to manage this and balance the whole process. And then he stumbles across a conspiracy to basically undermine the gods. And
That's good.
I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but effectively there was a plan to create a new god and sort of
Oh, that's cool.
the whole situation, but doing it in a way that will result in possibly large scale slaughter when the ruling caste find out, and most certainly caused by a lot of people dying in the process.
Mm.
So yeah, but it's all set in one city, so it's nicely contained. Um, but there's still well, it still gets very nasty, as all my books seem to.
I feel like that's fair. I love both covers, but Moon's Artifice was like super, super cool.
Yeah,
I just really like
lovely.
that.
Yeah, and I think the guy who did it, whose name I can't pronounce because it's complex and Polish, Krzysztof Domoradsky or something. I don't think he's done many book covers at all. He's done a lot of sort of concept art for movies. I
Oh, interesting.
don't know where they found him,
Mm.
but they just absolutely nailed it. The first one,
Yeah.
there was an old cover for the hardback, which I briefed and made total sense, and it just didn't work. And there's
Mm.
a lot on paper. It should have like the description. It sounded good. It was the artist who'd done the Twilight Rain, and frankly, the cover, especially of Stormcaller, sold a lot of books because it was the right cover on the right book at the
Mm.
right time. And so
Yeah.
good number of my sales just came from how perfect the cover was for how they were selling it. And he did the new series, and it didn't work. Didn't come out right. We couldn't really explain how it worked, so they then put a new one on for the paperback, which was
Mm.
gorgeous.
Yeah, both are really cool. I know I can hear some people in the audience, if they're watching or listening, who have talked to me before about asking certain follow-up questions. So I think they're all going to want to know, in terms of the character that's kind of like a like policeman or constable. Like, how did you decide like that type of like character class or job for that character?
It was a long time ago, so I can't totally remember.
Sorry.
Um, for the Twilight Rain, Isaac, the main character, he's a white eye who is effectively a genetic freak created by the gods to be their soldiers and their rulers. So
Oh, that's
he's
cool.
bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's more long lived, everything. So I wanted to go in the other direction, have much more of an everyman character.
Mm.
Someone who was not important, was not particularly. I mean, he's been trained to fight because he's a policeman in a fantasy world, so there has to be a certain amount of training. But
Mm.
he's not impressive at any of it. He's an average guy, and yeah, I think I very much wanted to go the other direction. I'd had a million words of these superpowered warriors tearing through people, and I wanted to do something different. And I wanted to do a sort of more of a mystery story. So I didn't want someone who could solve it quite so easily by violence or by magic or whatever.
Oh, that's cool. I'll be honest, I'm trying, when my son was born, I was like a year behind for reading books for my podcast. So, Moon's Artifice is actually, it was hard for me to pick one for you, but I think that's the one I'm going to go with. There's some times where there's like, I don't know. I just know myself as a reader. There's like, not that I don't like, the blurbs and covers and stuff for the other ones, but that one just keeps like speaking to me for whatever reason. And I've started to learn through my old age to listen.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
trying to, yeah, I'm trying to get better at that for writing too. I realized recently, when stuff isn't working, I'm like, so I had a particular scene I worked on all summer. It just wasn't working. So I just sat aside and all of a sudden the other day I was like, son of a gun, this is the wrong part of the story, and then this is the wrong location, this wasn't working for this, and then I promised my audience this is relevant, and then it happened to me yesterday too. I was writing and I was like, this is the wrong character, and then I figured out what I actually need to do tonight and tomorrow. But as a reader, I feel like I'm really good at that skill now, right? I can look at your blurb, the title, or the cover, the title, the blurb, And, 9 times out of 10, I'll be completely right about a book. I'm just trying to get better at doing that as a writer, if that makes sense. Like, I'm so good at it. I just realized there's got to be a way, right? I can reverse that skill because I know people that do that. So I definitely think that that's going to be the one for me. I have my own constable character that turned in from another character for a fantasy series of mine. And man, like, I was like, these characters like are so interesting, I think, to really think about in a fantasy setting, like you were saying. So I love the everyman character too. That's just like, I don't know, I am an everyman, right? Like I have to worry about aches and pains, right? I can stop a robber, but my back's gonna hurt after that, I'm gonna have to go to the Cairo. So that's definitely an everyman, I think.
No,
So I'm really interested to see how you wrote the character, and particularly in the setting. It sounds really cool. So, and I love the covers too. So,
I
um,
think I have all sorts of parallels when I'm writing that. I don't think about it and just sort of it comes in naturally. So yeah, I started writing the Twilight Rain when I was a teenager,
oh,
and
that's cool.
it's an angry teenager, effectively. When Naren comes along and Moon's Artifice, he's a he's a bit older and he's slightly more bewildered at his place in the world, and then he's got a baby coming along, and so that was again parallel, and then we get
Yeah.
to God Fragments and Lynx, who is a bit older and a bit more world weary and has put on a bit more weight since his younger days, and so it's following the progression of me at the moment. So I don't know quite how the later books are fitting into that, except
Yeah, yeah.
the female, which is an odd diversion on this progress.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that makes total sense. So, like, I've over the years now, as I've gotten older, I've appreciated older characters, right? That have, even if they're in a fantasy or sci-fi setting, right? Like, that have problems similar to mine, right? Like, I think it's hard for me to be like, yeah, this 18-year-old, like Wolfgar, right, from the Dritz series and stuff. Like, I can't really relate to him, right? But man, Bruner, like now I relate to him more. He's like, oh, these stupid kids, like why are they making these dumb decisions, and he has to be the responsible one. I totally get that now. So I think that makes total sense, right, for readers, as well as writers, right? Is like maybe it's the wrong age for a character. I've done that recently too and realized that. So I think that's a really good thing to be aware of. But I'm looking forward to Twilight Rain books, but I love the covers too for those. Like blurbs drew me. Like as soon as you emailed me, I looked those up. I was like, yeah, this is definitely my kind of series. So I know I'll have to get to that one too. But I can only pick one per author for 2026. So that's the one I picked for that one. So I'm anxious to see the Empire of 100 Houses. Um, what are the God Fragments books about, since you did mention them? And then what type of world building did you focus on the most for them?
So the God Fragments, the publisher described it as heroic fantasy, which I don't really know what that means.
I don't think any of us do, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, um, yeah, they were clearly aiming for something. So yeah, it is epic fantasy, but again, it's a slightly smaller scale. It's a group of mercenaries who are, well, running around causing trouble mostly. Um, and it was another one where I started with the world building and then sort of built from there. So I had two super vague sort of short story ideas that have been bouncing around my head for a long time.
Mm.
Again, yeah, I've been thinking about them while going to sleep and not been able to do anything with them. So those are bouncing around. I don't know. Okay, I've got to do a new fantasy world. Empire of 100 Houses. There were various problems with publication, so
Mm.
that's not gone anywhere. I tied that up in the end of book two. What do I want to
Mm.
do next? So okay, I want to have some more fun with blowing stuff up and monsters. Okay, that's fine. I can work with that. Um, so I thought, actually, I want to bring in some guns. I want them to be magic guns so I can have different types of ammunition for them. And so, if it's going to be different types of ammunition, how does that work? How does that get produced? And so that then sort of led into the mythology, well, the sort of theology, the various gods involved. And I wanted lots of monsters and ancient ruins, very much the sort of Balrog on a bridge image, which we
Oh yeah,
effectively used for the cover of book one.
that was a cool cover.
And yeah, I wanted them running around, blowing stuff up, and fighting monsters underground, because that just, if I'm going to spend my days writing that stuff, then I want it to be something that I really enjoy as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that then brought in the history of the world, and it just sort of developed from there. And it's a little knotty problem where you add a bit on and then you turn it around, you add a bit on, you turn it around, and some of it works, some of it doesn't work, and you strip it away, and then at some point you find you've got a story.
Cool. Well, that's the one I keep going back and forth for. This is like if I had an author ask me, it's like, have you done your, because I'm doing like a two-part video, right? So
Yeah.
for my 2026 reading list, he's like, hey, are you done yet? I'm like, no, because like five of you just have too many freaking good books, Tom. So it's hard for me, right? Because I go back and forth. So that was the other one. I'm like, oh, I'm like going like that. Because that's my friend and I were talking about the other day. He's like, "Ah, this sounds so like your thing." I'm like, yeah, but Moon's Artifice though. Like, so what I have to do now is like I have to like pick, and that's like it's the greatest problem to have because then it usually opens up my oh, why can't I think what they're called? My oh, palate cleanser reads, right? So I usually use the Dresden Files for those.
Mhm.
Actually I've like about to finish my third book in like 4 days
Wow.
that I topped off. Yeah, had a bunch that I was halfway done with. I do half Kindle and half like I'm getting back to paperback now that my son's older because he used to just knock them out of my hands or I was holding them and stuff. So I'm like slowly getting back. But yeah, like maybe I had to there's like five of you now where I'm like I have an extra book. So I might have to go to like 60 next year because things just sound too good. So that's definitely like my kind of thing.
I think the Dead Fragments it's a good fun series.
Mm,
One of the abiding principles. I mean, Lynx is quite serious. He's got trauma in his history and things, but he's joining up with a group who are deeply unserious and very childish. So they spend as much of the time as they can getting drunk and doing something stupid. So whether it's
well,
mushrooms potluck or just
yeah.
picking a fight for no good reason, they will
Oh,
absolutely throw themselves into it.
okay. Well, we might have to talk about two of my peeps that I'm writing about. We might have to do like a crossover because they sound very similar, and
Cool.
God, they would be fun in books together. But I totally get that. I have a D&D campaign that we did, and I was like, God, this would make a great dark fantasy, and I started to go back into it. Recently, I think it's going to be I'm trying to finish up a project this month, and I think that's going to be my NaNoWriMo. Is like wrapping up that outline and actually just like flowing through like the rough draft. But man, that sounds right up my alley because those are those two characters in a nutshell. Like people are like they're so dumb and fun. I'm like they really are. Fun to write too. So that sounds awesome. It's gonna have to be a game time decision time. Like I don't know, like whatever I'm feeling, it's gonna be one of the two. I can guarantee you. But yeah, I just want people just to take a minute if they have not clicked on your links to check out the covers. But that one though for Stranger of Tempest. Oh, that one is like by far that's I got the Balrog vibes from that one. So I sent it to two of my friends actually because I know that that's definitely their kind of thing. And that was another thing is like I have to wait actually now I think about it because we just discussed this the other day. We might actually book club that one because it seems like right up their alley. So that's how I could get two in the same. I think actually I'm gonna do that now. I'll just buy them paperbacks for Christmas, right? And then we'll just have to do that. So all right, cool. I'm gonna do that actually. You just sold two more books. And then I have to buy it too, so that's three. I'm actually gonna do that because I actually think that would be the easiest way for me to get that one and then yeah, another one for you. So I'm gonna do that. Cool. Don't tell anybody that I'm doing that. Dan, if you're watching, don't watch this one yet.
Yeah.
Actually, this will be out after Christmas, so we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, fun.
It'll be like the making of their Christmas present. That's awesome. But yeah, I want people to definitely check that out. All your covers are really cool, but that was one of my favorites I've seen recently. I wanted to be an illustrator like way back in the day before they had digital art classes at most schools, at colleges and stuff. So I still really love covers. So that was one of my favorites. So I have to ask this question. I know we're wrapping up on time, but I wanted to get this one in because I thought this was really interesting as I was checking out your site. So what is your book Falling Dark about, and what type of science fiction tropes and characters did you focus on the most and why?
So it's about the captain of a deep space scout ship who they on their way back from a mission they encounter a truly ancient wreck that has to be alien because it's too old and it's too big. And so I'd started out thinking, okay, well, before I even had a story, I had just this random idea about if two species meet or in some way encounter each other, how would they communicate? Like,
Oh yeah,
how do they sort of build from first principles up? Um, and I've been thinking about that for a while. I never really worked out how to do it in a story or whatever. And I got to the point going, you know what, I'm probably not clever enough to write that story. That, that needs someone who really knows what they're talking about. And if I'm writing that, I'm not spending too much time on the story itself. And so that sort of had gone on the back burner. I'd been writing a new fantasy series, and I started that, and then COVID hit, and I went, I do not have the headspace with young children to start a whole new fantasy world while
Yeah,
we're all locked down. That's not possible. So
that's fair.
let's explore this sci-fi idea. And being a big fan of Alien, the movie, it's quite naturally evolved into just the story of desperately trying to escape somewhere, which during COVID was possibly no great surprise. So yeah, Song the captain, she gets trapped inside the ship and she has to get out before the air runs out, and then she discovers she's not the only one in there. So
You're making it hard on me here, Tom.
it's
Is
a
that's
simple
like,
little alien story.
uh, how long is that one?
60,000 words, so it's quite short. You could
Making it
knock it
hard
off
on me
a
here,
day,
Tom.
really.
Yeah, yeah. I might add it to my 2025 because I had some that like I'm not gonna say who, but yeah, I had some that just did not pan out for myself. I'll get to them eventually. I'm just a reader and I just
Yeah.
like wasn't in the mood. So I tell people all the time, like I do the beginning video, but whether or not I finish like in this the upcoming year, it's just too hard, right? Like you said it, right?
Yep.
Young kids or just kids, period, right? And work and stuff. And I'm a writer too. So sometimes I'm gonna do this. And then I'm like writing something so similar. I'm like, I can't read this right now. My friend, he's like, you're such a moody reader lately. I'm like, it's totally true. But yeah, that one, like I love Ness Brown. Ness did uh like a alien like story. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a novella. It was so good. Scourge of the Stars. So I loved that one. That got me kicked back onto the Alien franchise in any way, shape, or form. And I haven't had a chance to finish the first episode of the TV show. It wasn't really my jam, but I'm gonna try it. My friend said if I get to episode 3, it just like goes off from there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because anytime someone says the word alien, I'm in, even if it's like themes or tropes or something like that. So that sounds really awesome. So I have to ask you, Tom, if you could take part in any of your stories, which one would it be and why?
Oh,
You got to pick your favorite child. Go.
I know. Wow. Um, yeah, if I'm taking part,
Yeah, if you're taking part.
possibly the God fragments, just
Okay.
because I had so much. Oh, I've zoomed in. That's weird. My camera's just don't know.
That's all right. We were all like in anticipation. It was like
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Yeah, they're such a bunch of childish idiots that I genuinely I had so much fun doing it. So it got to the point where you get to a scene, you go, I don't quite know what I'm doing here. Am I doing this from the wrong direction? And normally it was like, am I doing it from the wrong direction? For the Twilight Rain, not for Twilight, for God Fragments, I was getting to the point going, not really sure where I'm going to next. So therefore, I should start a fight. They should get drunk, or we should blow something up.
That's fine.
I'll work out why that happens later. But
Yeah.
yeah, we just work on those bits. And so I was always having fun. If I didn't know where the scene was going or exactly how it was going to go, um, them chatting to each other and just being abusive to each other kept me amused long enough until I could actually find the rhythm of the scene and work out the plot, and then I could trim some of the abuse to each other down a bit. But yeah, it was so much fun to write and hang out with them that finishing the Twilight Rain was tough because that was the book I
Mm,
learned to write on. It was 1,000,000 words, 6 books. And it was very involved.
mm,
Um, so leaving that was difficult. I
yeah.
felt sort of like a grieving process, but it was almost the same for God Fragments, just because these were a bunch of dysfunctional friends that I've been hanging out with, but for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could totally see that.
It was a pain, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny that you said that though, because I feel like as you were saying this, like with the weird insert certain things, I feel like Nicholas Ames did that with Kings of the Wild because there were so
yeah,
many times where they're like somewhere and then Yeah, like somebody does something stupid, but that's I thought made it fun because I'm like, God, this is like traveling with my buddies, right? Like we're road tripping from point A to point B, and I thought like he nailed it. So I think
Yeah,
that's like totally a guy thing, right? Like it's like
yeah.
I think and no matter who's there, right? Whether my wife's there, we're still pulling into the shenanigans, right? So I think it's only fair. So I love
And even the
represent.
sort of the other main character as well as Lynx is called Toil, who is she's the sort of the tough, the capable one. That well,
Oh,
they're all
awesome.
tough, they're mercenaries, but she's the one who is just. She's the woman with the plan. She's absolutely in charge, and she's in control of everything. And even she can't sort of resist just getting involved with the stupidity that's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a teacher. I see it all the time. I get like I had something happen at my old school and literally like National Honor Society girls and stuff. And so my principal's like, "Why were you guys doing this stuff?" They're like, "Well, the boys were." It's just like just get roped in. I'm like, "Yep, sounds about right." So I can think of so many circumstances where that was like my female friends or something growing up. Like the us guys we just pull them in to do stupid stuff, right? Now we solve society, guys. It's interesting. But I love that that's like popped up into your work. So I think that's really cool. I know we're running out of time. I want to make sure people have enough time here for that last question so we can see what type of news updates, any current projects, anything like that you can share with us.
Sure. Well, the latest series is called The Devil Diaries, because well, the main character. She has a devil in her mind,
Oh, that's cool.
and so it's contemporary fantasy. It's set in present day England, with quite a lot of inspiration from my family background. With that turned up to 11 to make it more fun in a book.
Mm,
And so yeah, I've just finished the novella, which sort of follows up book one, Devil Inside,
mm.
which is a sort of it's a combination of a ghost story and contemporary fantasy.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
but yeah, the main sort of thrust of it is it's going to have more of a sort of spies thread through the series.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
Eve is a fairly broken young woman, just trying to put her life back together after what's effectively a sort of catastrophic mental breakdown. And
Mm,
then she gets approached by MI5,
that's interesting.
who want to know about her grandfather.
Yeah.
And then her family history comes out, and she discovers that she's effectively inheriting this sort of magical legacy.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
fairly soon, people want to kill her because of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Not that people want to kill her, but it sounds like a killer story, though. No pun intended. Sorry, I'm a dad. That sounds awesome. I love contemporary fantasy. If people are gonna ask me, like, why do you have all these contemporary fantasy authors on all of a sudden? It just happens, people. Like, I don't know. But that's really cool. I just did want to mention, just like real quick for people, you did mention your standalone works. We talked about Falling Dark, but I definitely want, you mentioned you have a standalone historical fiction, so Verona and Autumn. I want to make sure people check that out too. We have a lot of historical fiction fans. I know I am. And then Fear the Reaper, your standalone novella too. So if people don't mind checking out your website and checking out those products as well, we just didn't have time to fully talk about everything. Maybe in the future when we have you on again, we can go back over those that we missed. But I just wanted to point those out to people. You can definitely find all of Tom's links in the description and where we're watching or listening to this podcast. So please make sure you guys do that. Tom, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate, yeah, I appreciate, you coming and just chatting away on your books. It was nice. I have so many people that have approached me recently that have a huge catalog. So it just makes it so easy to find things to talk about. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on today and chatting with us about your work. It was really awesome.
It was great fun to come and chat.
Yeah, no problem. And I just want to remind people, please make sure that we're focused on reviewing all of our products from our authors or creators. It's really the easiest way, to, really get them seen, whether they're indie or traditionally published. It really doesn't matter these days. Reviews just help everybody in general. So we want to make sure that that's a big focus. Tom, you have a great rest of the day, my friend. If there's anything else I can do for you, let me know. I'll hit you up with all your stuff and info this weekend with an email. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Let me know how I can help in the future, my friend.
Thank you. I will. And you have a
All right.
great time.
Thank you. You too. See you later.
Get some writing done.
Yeah, thanks. See ya.
Bye.